Hi, today I will share the conversation I recently had with Cyriel Kortleven. Now, if you would represent him in numbers, you could say he's one global speaker, he's the author of 5 business books, he spoke in 26 countries on 5 continents, and he has 20 years of experience in creativity. He is one of 35 people in the world that received the Global Speaking Award. He works 100 days a year abroad, and he has about 200 recommendations on LinkedIn. He loves one beautiful wife, and he has one mission. Don't mind the change, change your mind. Hi, I'm Bianca Vleerackers, storytelling architect, founder of Thought Leaders Academy and keynote speaker. And welcome at the new episode.
Break a Leg, a look behind the scenes of public speaking, a speaker's podcast from the Queen of Speech, Bianca Vleerackers.
Welcome, Cyriel Kortleven. Welcome to this episode of my newest podcast.
Hi, Bianca. Very happy to be here.
Well, I am as well too, because you've been traveling a lot recently. Huh? Can you tell me a bit more about your speaker's life nowadays? What have you been doing?
Yeah, at this moment, I'm now a few weeks in Europe, but I'm trying to build up a good base in Asia. So I'm traveling a little bit more to Singapore, Hong Kong mainly. And I want to build up a good network there to do some more work in that part of the world. I like that part of the world, and there's maybe a small seed is growing that maybe in 3-4 years, be half a year in wintertime, be in Asia, escape the winter, and then in summertime be in Europe. So that's a small thing that's in the back of my mind. And for that reason, I also travel a bit more to that direction.
Well, we go on that path a little bit later on in this episode. Now let's return to the beginning. How did you get started as a speaker?
I come from the world, I studied economics, but at one moment I discovered the world of creative thinking. I worked 3.5 years in the Center of Development of Creative Thinking. They're based in Antwerp. And then it's already, I think, 14 or 15 years ago that I became self-employed. I gave a lot of training in creativity. I did a lot of brainstorming sessions. And more I got some questions. But Cyriel, can you also give a short talk for a larger group? And to be honest, in the beginning, I was thinking, okay, it's the same as training, but you have less time and you have a larger group. But what I've discovered, because the last 4 or 5 years I'm really focusing on the speaking, that it is a different job. It's a different role. It looks like it's exactly the same, but you need different skills and you have to frame your story in a different way.
I think the main thing that is the same with giving trainings is that you are talking.
Yep.
but that's more or less it, probably. So what's according to you the difference?
I rolled into it.
Tell me more about that. There are more into it.
So at the moment, I got more requests, and what I was noticing is that I really liked it. I like to be on stage. What you have as a speaker, you have a larger group. You only have 45 minutes. 1 hour is a lot of times already the maximum time that you have. And what I really liked about it is that you can go full power for 1 hour. You have to really work on your story, because what's the main message that you want to share. But you can give everything, and that was in the training. I had a little bit the same energy, but after 4 hours or 8 hours, I was exhausted. I was really tired. And now I found a good modus to really bring the right energy, the right story. There's a lot more, but I think a lot more show also involved. People like that the speech is an experience. If you want to keep the attention. It's a mastery. I think it's really a profession. So I've been working with several coaches already to fine tune a lot of things. And I get up very happy in the morning, so I think I'm still on the right path.
One of the things I think is difficult is to find your topic, because there's so much to tell about creativity in so much angles. So how did you find your hook?
So I come from the more training on creative thinking brainstorming session. What I've noticed is that most people in a change project, because now I'm talking about my main topic is the change mindset, that it all starts here. I see so many people working on the change within the organization and the structures and the procedures and how we handle it. But the most successful change projects that I saw were the moments where the people, the employees, they were in the right mindset. They were open for change. So that became my focus on, let's focus on that part, because we already have enough other people who do other things. And that fitted, of course, very good with the whole creativity and innovation part. I was already mainly interested in the skills. So I would really look for, what's your passion? What are you good in within a niche? Because indeed, creativity innovation is quite big.
Yeah. And the interesting on your hook is that when you have that change mindset, the creativity starts to flow anyway. So
Yes.
it's like the starting point, it's like the kickoff. If you don't have the right mindset, creativity is a hard job. It's working hard.
Yes.
It's
And I believe that everybody can be creative, but there has to be kind of a basic motivation. You have to know why, or you have to be motivated to go into it. But then it becomes easier and easier. It's a skill that you can practice.
Yeah. So you started talking keynotes, bringing keynotes. Then you get on the Flemish stages in Belgium. Did you get on stages in Holland as well, in the Netherlands, or just?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mix between Flanders and the Netherlands, because my French is not really good, so I don't deliver speeches in French. So it was quite easy for me to go to the Netherlands, and that was indeed the starting point. And after a while, it takes a while. What I've noticed with speaking, really a big difference with training and facilitating, is that the acquisition time is a lot longer.
What do you mean? How longer? How much longer?
Yeah, I would say if I meet somebody and he or she would be interested in a brainstorming session, to arrange that could be done in 2 months, 3 months, because we only had to find a date with the whole team. But now as a speaker, it's more 9 months is already, then it goes quite fast. Now it's more 9 months, a year and a half. A lot of events, they already start a year in advance looking for speakers. That's different. That's really.
So you have to build on the relationship with the event organizers. That's one thing.
Yes.
But you have to be quite ahead on time because of the duration of getting an event on the road. It takes 10 months to a year to get it done.
Which makes it also quite hard, because sometimes, to be honest, Janka, I don't know what I will be talking about in a year.
You probably you might get bored of your topic. Could be.
It's true. So at this moment, I'm working on a new topic. So what I'm trying to do is get that out as fast as possible. But I'm quite sure the first real gigs will start in half a year before I really, And then the interesting thing is, people always want to have what they've seen. So if they have seen my previous talk, they want that dog, because that's what they want, that's what they like, that's what they're going to sell in their company.
Yeah, you know how Peter Hinze handles that problem, because after a while he gets bored of a certain keynote and he wants to quit with that one.
Yeah.
If the people keep on asking the same keynote he has been delivering for 1,000 times, then he says, it's on the internet. Just watch the YouTube and that's it.
Yeah. And sometimes what I've also noticed at certain kind of events, so you have to, at one side you have the in-company events. They weren't really that topic because it will solve a certain challenge. But you also have more the associations. And I would say that 20% of the time it's more that they do some work for associations like the Human Resources Summit or things like that. And to be honest, they don't really mind what you talk about. It should be, of course, relevant, and you should talk about a certain domain. But what I've already done a few times is that I incorporate new stuff in that one, because then that's what people are going to ask.
So you're already seeding.
Slowly.
Yeah. But your premises, don't mind the change your mind. That's a great way, a great slogan, great motto to kick off with. Huh? How long did it take to find that one? Because it's a really good one.
To be honest, it popped up while I was writing my book. So I was already delivering that speech, I think, for 2 years. And he was already talking about the change mindset. But I think while I was writing my book, I needed some quotes, playing with some words, and suddenly that one came up. And I'm still very happy with it because it's the essence of what I'm sharing. But sometimes it can take quite a while before you discover it.
2
And
years.
it's doing. As a speaker, it's also be on stage. You have your topic, but I think my topic develops while I'm in interaction with an audience. See what are the reactions, what do you like, what is the feedback that you always get. For example, I'm using an exercise with some beer coasters. I'm already using that exercise for probably already 10 years. The people keep asking for it and they love it. So then I think, okay, maybe I'm a little bit bored, then I should skip it. But at this moment, they still like it and it works. Why not? So you could use several things as a kind of a base and then adapt it and put in new stuff while you're busy.
Yeah. Now, the event organizers and the audience want an experience on stage. Now, I haven't seen one of your keynotes yet, only on the internet. And you're always handling a ladder and some bananas. How do you take care of that when you're in Singapore? Do you order a ladder? How do you
Maybe just to frame it, what I do in the beginning of my speech, I start with a ladder and a banana as a metaphor. So instead of picking up a banana, what I see in many companies happening is that they put a complex solution, so a ladder on top of it. And it started from a cartoon. I saw a cartoon and was using a slide as a cartoon, but then one of my coaches, I was looking for how can I bring in more humor. He said, why don't you use a real ladder? And I think it was brilliant. So I started to do it. But when I'm traveling, it's of course quite hard. So I try to arrange it with a hotel or something. But at that moment, you also come across a lot of different behaviors and cultures. For example, in Australia and New Zealand, there is a big health and safety thing. So climbing a ladder on stage. So at one moment, I could have a ladder on stage, but I couldn't climb it. So I had to point to the ladder. And at that moment, I was thinking, why? This is part of my show. I felt a little bit disappointed. But then I've noticed, this is exactly the topic that I'm talking about. Why do we make things very complex? And do we have so many rules? So it's fitted with my message. But to be honest, I think for my next speech, I'm going to look for an easier metaphor because traveling with a ladder is it's quite a challenge.
It did surprise the audience because they're not used in having a speaker doing things like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But you mentioned that it's a different culture, Australia, different culture. But that's what you get when you get from a local stage into the global stage. And you are on the global stage a couple of years already. But how did you manage to move from local to global?
Yeah, I think I followed a bit a strange strategy. I don't know if I would recommend it to people. I think an easier strategy is if you have a company in Europe or in Belgium or the Netherlands. A lot of times, if it is an international company, try to look if you can go first to Germany and a little bit further. And the interesting thing is, in every so you have the local events, you have the national events, but you also have European events. If you can do something there, the chance that you will be invited in other countries is already bigger. Now, what I've done with several countries, it's a bit of strange and maybe a little bit a harder strategy because I wanted to do something in Australia, New Zealand. So what I did, I just said, I'm going on a holiday. That's one, but I'm going to try to do some speeches there. So I reached out via LinkedIn to totally strangers. I just said, hey, hello, my name is Cyriel. I'm working in the domain of creativity, change. And of course, I looked for some profiles of people who were interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
And with a few of them, I had some Skype calls, and that was the way how I got my first assignments in Australia. I didn't know anybody. I made a decision, and 3 months later, I already made the decision I'm going, even if I wouldn't have any assignments. And I went. And once you're there, then it becomes a little bit easier, because then people start to recommend you, and they say, hey, Cyriel, you spoke in Melbourne. Can you also do something in Sydney? But I think it's a hard way, because it took me, because I've done a similar strategy, applying it in Singapore and Hong Kong. And I would say that you have to go there at least 3 times to get break even financially. So now I've been there 4 or 5 times, and now I'm starting to see that I'm really getting some more paid gigs. And
so you went over there without. So
Yeah.
you went over there without having a paid gig. So you did it for free. You went to Singapore, Australia, to speak for free.
Yeah, and I combined it. I wanted to see those countries, and I wanted to go there anyway, also on holiday. So every assignment that I could do and pay a little bit for it was nice. But yeah, it was quite a big investment.
Yeah.
And I think the easier way is indeed look at companies that you already know and can you make connection. But it's still quite hard. What I've noticed that even in international context, a lot of people, they don't really talk to each other, so you still have to start almost from scratch. A thing that works really well is using the Chamber of Commerce. So that's what
Really?
I'm doing a lot of times. So you have a Belgian Chamber of Commerce, a Dutch Chamber of Commerce, and they are always looking for speakers. They don't pay their speakers, but what's nice, the people who come to that event, most of them are expats. So they are in a nice position, and that helps. That helps to if they can see you, because they need to see you. If you can watch a video, but to be honest, I would say that 95% of the speaking gigs that I get come via somebody who saw me. If they haven't seen me, it's really hard to unless you're famous, then it's a little bit easier, but otherwise.
So that's really interesting, because I thought that having your good videos and good show reels would do a lot of the job, but that's apparently not the case.
You need it. You need it because they're going to check it. But it's not that, because there are so many good speakers around, and they have to see, does your energy fit? So you need it as, it's kind of a requirement. Once they've seen you, then they use the videos to promote you to some other colleagues to convince them. But what I've noticed is that I need at least one person who really saw me.
Now you told me that you are interested in Asia, and you're trying to get more a grip in the continent and in Singapore. What does Asia attract you so much? Why do you prefer to be there?
A few reasons. One is probably the weather. that's already a nice thing to escape the winters here. What I'm noticing is that Asia is really booming. And what do I mean by that? For me, it was quite hard. If you're in Europe, every country is quite different. So if you want to start up something, it costs quite a lot of energy. But I've noticed with Asia, once you can do something in Singapore or Hong Kong, they are still a little bit the hubs from Europe. They have some headquarters there. Once you can do something there, it's apparently a lot easier than to go to Malaysia, to do something in Thailand, to do something. It looks like it's a little bit easier than in Europe, where in Europe everything is still, at least for me, looks a bit more separately. So that's one reason. And another reason, I have a feeling, that's probably also a reason why people like Peter Hinz and Stephen Bellingham, they're really looking at Asia at this moment. A lot of new developments are happening there. But what I'm noticing is that you also still have a trouble with what I would call the change mindset. So people are very eager, they're very smart, but they're not so used in taking initiative, being a bit more entrepreneurial, and that's something what they need. So I think my topic is also very relevant there.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a bit the opposite than the US,
Yeah.
where in the US there is already a lot more entrepreneurs, and the competition is a lot harder in the US. I think
Mm-hmm.
I've maybe done 3-4 speeches in the US in the 5 years that I'm busy. So I've done a lot more work in Asia and Asia Pacific.
Yeah.
So that's for me a reason
Yeah.
to focus a bit more there.
Yeah. But how would you manage spending the winter times over there and then the rest of the year here? How do you manage your work? Can you, when people ask you in Belgium to do a training, do you say, "Oh, I'm only available from April until October because then I'm out of here"? Do you say
It's a
that?
very good question. I still have to discover how it works. One of my plans is already in 2020. I'm going there for 2.5 months and see how it works. And then I will say, no, I'm only available there. And I try to arrange, can we do it on a different date? If I can do 2 or 3 things in the same week, then of course it's worthwhile for me to fly over. And if you look at, because I call myself a global speaker, and I've already spoken in quite a lot of countries in the world. But what I see, for me, the real global speakers, they're based somewhere and they fly all over the world. So they're not based, they're based somewhere, but it doesn't matter if they tomorrow have to give a speech in Sweden and the next day in South Africa and then in Melbourne. They just do it. And at this moment, to be honest, I go over for always a few days to a new region just for jet lag and relax a little bit. So my strategy is again a little bit different there. But if people are happy or companies are happy to pay a bit more, I'm happy to fly over. And but now for me, it's more building up a network and a base. I've noticed if you're there, that helps to have some more meetings and.
Now, we have met earlier this year at the UBA Trans Day 2019, where I was the moderator, and you were one of the speakers. If our closing keynote speaker, Peter Hinze, wouldn't have made it because he was very ill at that day.
Yes.
And the event organizer had called you to replace him if it was necessary. And I think that was a very big challenge, in my opinion. And I helped you prepare for that. But how did it feel for you to be asked to do that and to experience that and to prepare for something like that? Tell me more about it, because I've been curious for almost a year to find out how you have dealt with that one.
But it was absolutely a special event. It was also the first time for me to be a backup speaker, and I felt honored to replace Peter if necessary. I'm very happy that he showed up and he was okay. Difficult. So I think they called me 2 days in advance because they didn't really knew that Peter would be sick, of course. It was a last minute thing. But they already knew me. They had saw me before, so that already helps. So the trust was already there. They knew the topic that I had, and my topic is quite broad, so it fits in more things. So what I did the day before, I've almost spent the whole day in preparing for the audience. Who's the audience? What am I going to say? And of course, I have my basic presentation. But what I found the hardest thing is because Peter was announced, and then suddenly somebody else comes up. So there were already expectations in the audience. So that was one of the things I was the most afraid of, because once I'm on stage, I do my thing. I'm quite sure that I can get people along. That's one of my strengths, and that the content would also be relevant. But I think I've spent quite a lot of time in finding a bridge. How can I use humor to say, hey, it's not Peter, it's Cyriel, and use some humor to get the permission of the audience that it's somebody else. If it would come up and immediately start, hey, I'm Cyriel, Peter is not here, it would be hard. So I was looking, how can I make a soft link to what Peter was doing and what I was going to do. I found that one of the hardest things. And what we agreed on, they paid me a little bit for the time for my preparation. But if Peter couldn't show up at that moment, we would have a chat on a fee. But this time, I was also very happy to help them, and it's also building relationship with that client. So hopefully, in one of the next years, I can do something there.
Yeah, and in my opinion, it was. I thought it was quite an honor that they asked you, because it's a very important event. 1,500 people in the audience, great speakers in the lineup. So it's great that they thought of you to replace one of the best speakers of the day.
Yes.
But weren't you a bit disappointed that you couldn't find out if your preparation would have worked?
To be honest, I was hoping a little bit that the voice of Peter was still for one day a little bit longer. Because you're ready. I was probably even more ready than other times, because I had to replace him. So I was really sharp. I already, my slides were already with the tech guys. And I was happy that Peter did it, and he did a brilliant job. I would have done it in a totally different way. We have a different style, but it's true. You're totally ready to go for it. But fine, I'm quite sure something will come out of it. But it is special. I don't know if I want to do this role too many times. I was very happy and indeed very honored that I could do it that day. But if they would say, Cyriel, now the next 10 times you're backup speaker,
No. It's like being on the with football, sitting on the bench. The bench. It's nice the first time, but the 10th time it's not that nice anymore. No. Okay. You talked about a book. You've written a book. You've written several books, but you don't call them books. You call them bookazines. So your strategy is quite different than other business speakers, and that interests me a lot. Tell me more about your concept of your bookazine.
Yeah. So certainly my latest book, because my previous books, I still call them books, but they already go in the direction of a bookazine. What's the bookazine for me? I don't know. Yeah, we're following this, so then it helps. A bookazine is more.
Right.
It's
I
a book
really love it.
with the layout of a magazine, and I was looking for something that reflects the energy that I'm doing. And to be honest, I think that a lot of books with only words, sometimes they are a little bit boring. The content can be absolutely great, but in my speaking, the inspirational part and the experience is really important for me, because I deliver a very simple message. I'm not a thought leader like Peter Hinton, who has a brilliant vision and comes up with the newest stuff. I'm more at the other side. I simplify things. How can we make things very easy? And I was looking for a way, how could that be reflected in a book? So I've been working on it, I think, for a year and a half. So I certainly have a lot of question marks if people say, hey, write a book in a week. Probably it is possible for some topics, but if you really want to put your soul in there and let it reflect something else, I think it needs more attention. And I've been also self-publishing then, because the normal market of publishers, they're not really interested in this. It's way too complex to do it, and that's fine for me, because for me a book is an expensive business card. Still, I don't really make money on my books. It's more a deal sealer. It shows my energy. So I have a little bit of different opinion than the classic publisher, I would say.
Yeah, but I totally agree with your approach on that. I think it's unique, the bookazine. I think it's more interesting. It's more fluent. It's a book can be so static.
Yeah.
And the book isn't. It's something you take with you. You really use a magazine.
Yeah, you
don't.
open it.
Yeah, and I think often those business books aren't even read by people. They just give them and that's it.
No,
So-
I'm quite sure there is even, I think I've put it on the first page. I don't know if you can see it, but apparently there is a word for it. Tsundoku, it's a Japanese word for the pile of books, that you bought but never read. So there's even a word for it. So that was the thinking behind it. I want to have a book that's different and people will apply and read actually.
You certainly succeed with that one, that's for sure. So we'll be ending the interview now with just one more question I want to ask you.
Yes.
I'm coming from the theater. I'm an actor, and before we get on stage, we wish each other good luck. But we have 3 choices to use a phrasing for that one. We could say break a leg, we could say toi toi toi, or we could say merde. Which one would you prefer to wish you luck with?
Yeah, I definitely would go for break a leg. With my banana, I think that resonates really well. So let's go for that one.
Okay, Cyriel, I wish you lots of luck. Break a leg with the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Ciao.
This is it. Thanks for listening to this episode. Don't hesitate to contact us at thoughtleadersacademy.eu if you want to become a better speaker. If you like this podcast, let us know too. It's always nice to hear what you think. Keep thinking about who you are and how you see the world. And in the meantime, break a leg.